Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, July 24th. This is the meeting of the Bridgewater Community Preservation Committee. We have present myself, Gina Guasconi, Chair, Carlton Hunt, Vice Chair, Jeff Merriman, Maureen Manajan, and Pat Driscoll. We also have, as of now, for guests, we have Jennifer Golson and Austin Smith from J.M. Golson. I think that's everybody. And okay, start the chair's announcements. Just a couple quick ones. As most of you probably know, our town manager, Michael Dutton, is leaving. He submitted his letter of resignation to take a job in Barnstable County. He is, I believe, his effective resignation date is September 4th. There are a number of projects that he's been intricately involved in that at this point are incomplete. We have our monthly offices meeting coming up in a couple weeks. Hopefully we can get everything set for that. They're looking for interim town manager. But I'd like to get these things settled with Michael, where he was or is so involved with them. But we'll keep everybody posted. I'd like to thank the CPC members that submitted surveys and answered questions and submitted lists to J.M. Golson in regards to our 5-year plan, which we'll get. We have both of them here for updates on it, but I'd like to thank everybody for their support in getting things completed. And my last thing, CPC composition has basically been shot 2 people, 2 seats. We should have 9 members. We have 1 for the Housing Trust that's never been filled. We've talked about with the town manager switching that to an at-large person. We're not sure if that will take place or what, but we would like to either get a Housing Trust person or make it a at-large position. The other is the Housing Authority. The member from the Housing Authority that's been represented on CPC, we haven't heard from probably for 6 to 8 months. We've reached out to her. I've reached out to the Housing Authority director, who at this point, the Housing Authority director is asking the Housing Authority to choose another representative. So hopefully, because it will help us with our quorums, it will hopefully, we'll have at least one new person. Okay, that's it from my comments, but we know I always forget things and think of them later. Okay, public comments. Anybody from the public like to speak?
I just noticed that Donna Jewell has joined us as a public person.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we have Harry coming in too. Good. Okay, no public comments. Approval of minutes. We have the May 22nd, which inadvertently had been left off of our June agenda packet. So we have those to approve and June 26th, both. Hopefully people had a chance to read them.
Just note that Harry Bailey's now joined us, so we have 6 members.
What was that about Harry?
We have a 6th member. Harry Bailey has joined us.
Okay, yep, I saw that. Thank you. Okay. Do we have we can take the minutes separately, the May 22nd?
I'll move, motion to approve.
Okay, second?
I'll
Anybody?
second.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Josh, roll call.
I think Josh is not on right now. He had to leave.
Okay, Josh is off. Okay, I'll do the roll call. Gina, yes. Let me go back to who's here. Carlton,
Yes,
Harry,
I'll abstain. I wasn't at the last meeting.
okay. Were you at the meeting in May? I think, okay, that's the one you weren't here. Okay, Harry abstained. Maureen,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Well, it passed. It's not unanimous. We had an abstention. Okay, how about June 26 meeting minutes?
motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second that, Pat.
okay, Pat, thank you. Discussion?
Yeah, you have me listed as being there and I was not.
Okay, for June?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And that was me, I typed those. Okay, we'll do that. Any other changes? Okay, roll call, Gina, yes. Oh. Okay, I thought somebody said something. Carlton,
Yes, as amended.
okay. Harry,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
okay, Mark wasn't here, so
Pat,
you're abstaining,
Yes.
wasn't here, so Pat's a abstention.
Oh,
Oh, no,
Even if you're not there, we've been advised you can vote on the minutes just for the content, but
okay, you can vote to accept them. I shouldn't be putting words in your mouth.
yeah, I vote yes.
Okay, Maureen, do you wanna be abstained from that or vote yes?
Sure, I'll vote yes. Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. And that's as amended, correcting, Maureen. Okay, financial reports, I couldn't get one for the end of fiscal 24 that ended June 30th, and the new one that started July 1st for fiscal 25. Because they were still closing out, the finance office was still closing out fiscal 24. So they didn't have any of those reports. So the last one you can see is the May one that I believe.
so
we
do you
looked
have
at
an
before.
estimate, since we can't
just a
really
couple
talk about
things
that,
on
Ms.
it.
Dalton, since we can't really talk about that, can we jump over that and just give an update as when we might expect the closeout for FY 24?
Yep. As of maybe a week and a half ago, Laurie had told me 2 to 3 weeks. And it's usually sometime into August. Okay, so that's it. We should have by our next meeting. We should have it. Applications, moving on, applications received. We still have the senior center community gardens pending more information. We haven't heard anything back. The director, Emily Williams, was supposed to speak to Attorney Rollins. I don't believe she has. I haven't heard one way or the other. Last I knew, she hadn't. So we had been holding it we had told Emily we needed further information, because it wasn't, we couldn't vote on, we couldn't award for everything she wanted on it, so we needed breakdowns. My recommendation is just to send her a letter that she would have to submit a whole new application. Because we've just been holding it for too long. Thoughts on that?
Do you need a motion on that?
I don't think it would hurt for it to have one.
I move that we submit a letter to the senior center requesting withdrawal of the current application and resubmission of a new application when they're ready.
Okay, good motion. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Martin. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call. Gina, yes. Carlton,
Yes,
Maureen,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes. Yes.
and Harry.
Yes,
Okay. My Zoom keeps changing the order of people. So it's like when I start going, it's like, wait a minute, that wasn't the way it just was, but okay, so we'll get that letter out. Hanson's Farm, we'll talk about that when we get to, or I guess now is when we're talking about that. We're still waiting for negotiations to go through. It's our understanding that the two lawyers are the town's lawyer and the lawyer for the Hanson family are getting together soon for negotiations. That's about all we know for that one. Okay, Stiles and Hart updates. And if we get through this quick enough, we'll get to hear the president talk at 8. Stiles and Hart improvements. They're working on the improvements themselves. That should be done. I believe the town manager has said by the fall it will be completed. I can't wait to see it. I know a couple people that have walked in and they said it looks good. As far as they went, they didn't go all the way in. And there possibly could be an issue with a piece of landlocked or parcel of land that's landlocked up against the river. If you go in the entrance, it's gated right next to the river. If you walk in part way on the right, there's a property, there's a parcel that belongs to someone in the neighborhood. And the town is working on obtaining that piece of property. So
I will add that piece of property is about 1/4 of an acre, and it has a water and the sewer pipeline goes across that property, and it's got an easement on that.
okay, good, thank you. So the town's working on that. It's just, as Carlton said, it's 1/4 of an acre. And the rest, the improvements should be done, as I said, by the fall. You can see riding by, the 2 parking areas are coming along nicely. And I actually saw somebody walking the little walkway that they built between the 2 lots. Hemlock Drive window replacement. They were last time they had sent out bids. They were evaluating the bids and hoping to start work soon. Parthenon and Freeze. If anybody has anything to add for any of these, just jump right in. Okay, the Parthenon Freeze. The preliminary, cursory evaluation work was done by a structural engineer, which I believe we had reported before regarding the mounting surface area racing. The DPW, our DPW is focusing attention to scheduling the installation of the freeze casts in about 2 weeks.
And that's based on a message from the town manager's office, is that correct?
Right, that's what I'm reading now. If you can see my phone in the picture, I'm not doing other things. I'm reading the message from it. The rebinding of the records book was approved by the town council. And I just need to do the award letter for that. Gotta write myself a note for that one. Okay, but that was approved by the council. Completed projects. Let me just make sure I covered. Yep. Completed projects. We have the townhouse, and we're waiting for the Mass Historic Mass Historic Commission, and I'm guessing Patrick Grimes is.
Say it
the-
again, please.
Patrick Grimes from J Booth. Is that the developer?
I think that's Mass Historic, and then the developer is I'm sorry, it's going right out of my head.
Because they have two names here from the town
Right.
manager's office, Ross Deckel from Mass Historic and Patrick Grimes from J Booth.
Okay, that's probably from the architectural firm that oversaw the project.
Okay, they're finalizing their completion report as of the last email from the town manager's office on July 9th. They sent a message out on July 9th, looking for an update from those two men. Okay, Old State Farm Trails, I believe we're just waiting for the final report from Josh. We've closed out that account for fiscal 24, what was left. Broad Street Properties is basically set, just waiting for the deeds been put into the town's name. And those are the two properties that are next to Imperial Kitchens. Just waiting for a final report for that. Summer Street for the mobile station property. They got 500, meaning in the town, got 534 surveys, completed surveys. So they're in the process. They've looked at them all and they're compiling them, they're finalizing them. I guess they finalized the review. And they'll have a meeting soon to discuss the findings and provide an update. And the town manager can answer more questions on that when he's back from vacation.
Did we
Gina,
get
just a
any indication
question.
that there was a committee that was working on that? Did we get any indication of when that committee will meet?
It just says the survey from residents was finalized and we are working through over 534 responses. The committee, they must have had a committee. She doesn't say who. She says the committee will be scheduling a meeting to discuss findings.
Gina, just a quick
Pat?
question. That other meeting is gonna start. It shouldn't be long. If I
Okay.
sign off and sign back on, do you have quorum?
Yes.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have 5. If we don't get you back, we'll still
You
have
have
5.
5 without me, correct?
Yeah.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
And I've also just have a person, Stefano, as a guest.
Okay, great. Hi, Stefano. Okay, also for the mobile station, it says, and this is from the town manager's office, The Parkland acquisition and renovations for committee's grant is being finalized. Hoping to have everything to the EEA early next week. I'm not sure what EEA is. It's somebody, it looks like we're putting in a grant, the town's putting in a grant application next week. Okay. Then that would also would need a final report. Okay, moving on to the administrative account, carryover expenses. We closed out, we had carried over last year's an encumbrance from FY23. We had carried over funds for signage, which Carlton, I have all those that I have to get to you someday.
Thank you.
The last batch that were made. Carlton did a great job having the signage made, different size signs, different wording for the different projects. So I'd like to thank him for that. We closed out that account. We couldn't carry it over again. We had to, you can just carry it over once. But we did carry over FY24 admin funds for JM Olson, because we voted that contract for a 5-year plan. We voted it in fiscal 24, so we're allowed to carry that over so we can pay her this year out of last year's funds. Questions on that? Okay, hearing none. Jen and Austin, you guys are up.
All right, good. Well, thanks everyone. We're really happy to be here. And I know we gave you some draft deliverables to look at, and I think that's what we mostly want to talk about. We also wanted to talk through the survey, make sure you're okay with the language we used, if you want any changes to that. And then we wanted to go over the focus groups. Right now we're scheduled to hold them less than 2 weeks from today, but as far as I know, as of this morning, we did not have a list of attendees to invite, and we do recommend 4 to 6 weeks notice for attendees just to make sure that people can actually go. And so we're a little bit concerned about the timing on that, and want to suggest the committee talk about pushing those back so that you do have more time to get people to come and to schedule those so that you have good attendance. Right now they're scheduled on, I believe it's it's August 5th and 8th, I believe, which is, the 5th is less than 2 weeks. The 8th is 2 weeks from tomorrow, which is pretty tight since we don't have the list you want us to invite quite yet. So that was one thing to talk about. Austin's going to also go over the draft profiles with you, which you have time to look at them, but we just wanted to get any comments you had now, and then get your comments on the survey. So I wonder, I might be taking this a little out of order, Austin, than what we had intended, but I wonder if we could talk about just the focus group timing right now. That's really the most immediate thing in our minds.
Jen and Austin, do you have a list from the town of the committee members that I think you had requested that? Did you get a list from the town?
The committee, this committee, or all committee members?
All committees, relevant committees.
Austin, I'm not sure if we got that. Can you answer that?
No, we haven't gotten that list from the town. I can send out another ask for that.
So,
Okay, and I can send out to Josh too and ask him to send it along.
yeah, that was an action from, I remember from the minutes, that was an action for Josh to do. I know he's flat out, but this is critical. I'm letting someone else in.
Okay, I think I just let him in, but you may have, one of us may have.
Okay, so given that we're still working to compile who you'd like us to invite and getting that list of the board and committee members, I would suggest we push these focus group dates back by a month to give you some, I'm hoping that you know, by let's say next week, let's say end of next week, we have a good list. We have the board and committee list, but also just a good list of other people you'd like to invite to each one. And then we can issue those invitations by, let's say, by Monday, August 5th. So if you can get us, you know, those names by the end of next week, that would be great. We could issue the invitations, and then a month from then would be the week of, I guess, September 9th, I would suggest we look at, or the week of September 16th.
Okay, I think that's a great idea to switch them. And just to, as you said, to give more time to the folks to plan to attend.
Yeah. Yeah, we have had issues in other communities where if we don't, you know, if we give people a week or two notice, they often have other plans already and just they want to come, but they can't come. So it's really good to give it, I'd say, at least a month.
Mhm.
And then remind me, did we land on these being in person or virtual? I know we were going back and forth a little and I can't remember where we landed on that.
I believe we're going to talk about it tonight to decide.
Okay. I'll just put a little thought in your head. If we do it virtual, then my schedule opens up a little bit more for you, and you'll have a few more dates to choose from. If we do it in person, it's you'll have some dates, but it'll be a little more limited just because I'll need to, you know, devote the travel time and whatnot to get out there.
Okay. Yeah. if
Jen,
you-
can I just, this is the focus groups, maybe because it's, as I understand it, it's more the committees and boards and commissions and interested individuals in town
Yes.
to
Yes.
participate. So my question is, maybe you could explain the focus group, what its intent and how you plan for that.
Sure.
And then the
Yeah.
second part is, I know there's a forum for the whole public to come before,
Mhm.
but we've got several people from the public here. I think it's good for them to hear what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, the focus groups is for us to get an understanding of the needs. We typically share the draft profiles that you had in your packet, I believe, for this meeting. You know, we'll revise them how you'd like us to, and then we typically share those with the focus group members. There'll be a focus group on each of the CPA topics. So there'll be a historic preservation focus group, a housing one, open space, and recreation, and we typically do 4. We can pair them up so that we can do 2 on one evening, and they run about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half tops, and then we can go with a little bit of a break right into the next one. And we really are just looking at, you know, what are the main issues that these stakeholders think that CPA funds could help address, or what other project ideas might they have for the next 5 years. And get a sense of that. And typically it's people who would be involved in putting together an application. So it's typically people who are involved somehow with those topics in the town, in the community. It could be board or commission members. It could be other members of the community that have a special involvement. So for example, refresh my memory, but I'm pretty sure you have a historical society. Is that right? I'm sorry if I don't remember that.
We
It's
do
the
have a
old-
historic commission, and we have the historic district, and we also have the old
Bridgewater.
OBSH,
Bridgewater.
Old
Yeah.
Bridgewater Historic
So
Society.
it could be a combination of those town boards and commissions, as well as a nonprofit that may be an applicant as well. But we're really looking to comb for possibilities for the next 5 years, and what these, you know, these stakeholder groups feel are important things to consider, and what they might even have in mind. And then we would do a public forum, which would be open to all community members. That I believe I think we were also talking about either doing that in person or virtual. I'm not sure where we landed. We could do it either way. And that is more about, you know, sharing what we've learned so far. We'd share some of the ideas that we gathered from the focus group. We'd share the profiles that we drafted with the updated resources for each of the CPA areas. And then we would get feedback from the community about what they want to see integrated into the plan in terms of priorities. How should the town spend the funding? How
That's
should,
good.
um, oh, how should the committee decide what projects have the most merit? If you have more project proposals, you know, in a given year, how do you decide which ones to fund? And that's the kind of question we'd be asking of the community at the forum. And I think if we're going to be pushing the focus groups into September, I would suggest we then pick a date in October to do the forum so that we have some time to understand what the focus group said and then prepare for that forum so we could report out and give adequate notice and all of that. Does that make sense?
It does.
I'd like to hear from the committee what they think.
Okay, I think it makes sense. It's just, and I had talked to Austin about this last week because I don't know if we actually spoke, or I think we did. We spoke, not wrote. I was confused about focus groups versus the public input, because that's what I thought the focus groups were. And he explained it to me as Jen just explained it. My question is, okay, say for open space, we have the open space committee there, we have possibly Parks and Rec, because I understand you. Passive recreation is now going with open space. But say there's some other citizen in town, one or two that knows that we're having it, they're really interested in open space. Can they still come, or do they have to be official?
Yeah, I mean, we've never been inundated with people at these, to be honest. We have a little, you know, it's hard enough to get 8 people to come out to these things. They're not intended to be big. They're intended to be a very informal discussion about, you know, what these boards and committee members, town officials, nonprofit stakeholder groups have in mind for the next 5 years, what they see as the key priorities in that particular CPA funding area. If you know of an interested citizen, I say invite them along. I think that's totally fine. We typically don't advertise these because they're not big public meetings. We don't want to falsely advertise that this is going to be a big public meeting. It's a very informal discussion. So I would say any active folks, if there's like Friends of the Cemetery group that is interested in historic cemeteries, or if there's the stewards that maintain the trail systems, people like that will probably have an interest in what happens with historic funds, what happens with recreation funds. So I think you could look at, you know, folks like that that have some knowledge and interest in the subject. I think that's totally fine, Gina. And then
Great.
the forum will be much more, you know, broadly advertised, and really anybody is encouraged to come to those, even just to learn about CPA. You don't even have to have an idea for what, you know, what should be a priority, but you might start to think of ideas as you listen to our presentation at the forum and that kind of thing.
Good, thank you. Comments from other CPC members? So I'll jump in at once.
Sounds good to me. This is my first rodeo, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But
And we're putting you right on the mechanical bull.
yeah,
First one. Just
Yeah,
teasing
and
you.
if CPC members, if any of you, you know, especially in your area of specialty, you know, Gina, you're representing Parks and Rec, so I would expect that you would want to be at the recreation one. And I can't remember what all you're representing, but whatever you're representing on the CPC, it would be a good idea for you to attend that particular focus group in that subject area. If you're an at-large, maybe you don't attend any, or maybe you pick one to attend that you have special interest in. We're going to need help with housing because it sounds like there are no housing members. So the at-large, maybe you might be interested in coming to the housing one. You know, you can talk amongst yourself about who should attend which, but we don't anticipate all of you will attend all of them. But if there's a special interest or you're a liaison in a certain subject, we would expect that you'd want to attend the focus group that's related to that subject. And then everyone should attend the forum, because that will be a forum that the CPC is actually hosting.
Right. Okay, Carlton?
Procedural question. Number one, I think every member of this committee who represents a board, commission, or whatever needs to go to their next meetings and actually encourage the membership to come to these forums. But to that point, because the open meeting law requires publication of meetings, and if a commission, for example, let's just use us, CPC, if we're more in quorum, then we have to post the meeting. So we have to deal with posting with at least 48 hours before any of these meetings that might have a quorum of any one of our committees. That's just a logistics issue that we need to work on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No,
and it's certainly reasonable just to post them all, if you want to, as CPC meetings. And the only issue is then I think we actually need a quorum. So
that's what I
we-
was just
we
gonna
could-
ask. Now, if we
Yeah.
don't have a quorum of CPC members, does that mean the focus group can't take place?
I'm not sure. We are getting substantive feedback that will affect the plan, shape the plan. So I think that if it's posted as a CPC meeting and you don't have a quorum, you probably can't hold the meeting. But
Right.
I can't give you legal advice, but that would be a conservative approach.
Mhm.
Usually these are not public meetings, and we usually don't ask for a quorum of any one group. We might ask for a representative of a committee, but not the full committee. So if one or two of you want to come out to, the topic that is of, in your specialty or that you represent, I think that's more typical, and they're typically not posted.
Okay, so it would be, say, I'm gonna say open space. Maureen, I'm not picking on you guys. It's the first name, the first committee that keeps popping into my head. So say we give Austin the names of the open space committee. They should decide, I don't know what a quorum is for them, but they should decide and let people know that they shouldn't all go, just pick like the most interested ones.
Yeah, if
'Cause
they
they
could
don't-
pick one or two people, I think that
Right.
that's more typical. And then we might have, if there's an open space committee and maybe the Conservation Commission wants to pick one or two people. And then if there are any other groups in the community that are interested in open space, I can't remember if there's still a Natural Resources Land Trust.
It
Kitty
is,
Doherty.
it's active.
Or it's,
Yeah.
they're very active.
Okay, so then I would say Kitty or someone from that group should be there. So if you cobble that together, that ends up being, 6 to 8 people, and that's the perfect size for that kind of informal discussion.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to make a suggestion, Gina. Given what's happening in town and lots of things said in recent meetings, I think we should run this by Jason Rollins, our attorney.
That makes
Just
sense.
have a conversation with him. You and I sit down with him and talk about what his recommendations are.
Do you mean for, as far as like posting the meetings?
Correct.
Okay,
I just don't want us to get into in a bind. I hear what Jennifer's saying in terms of subgroups or 2 or 3 members not in quorum to represent their committee. For example, Jeff and maybe one other from Historic Commission would be there to talk about historic properties, his cemeteries, etc. Open space could be Maureen and maybe the chair to talk about where they're headed, that kind of thing. So I really think it's on our backs, necks, heads, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Get a group of our committees together. I will say that I have submitted a list of people that are potentially interested in this kind of thing, but I can't call it down as to the details of that. But I have submitted a list of a number of people that could be important
okay.
in this process.
Did you give that to us or where is that?
I sent it to you guys.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure we have it. Austin,
And
I'm
if,
sure.
and if you want to work with me offline about individuals, that's fine, but it's
Yeah.
it's a pretty broad spectrum of people.
Okay,
Right,
that sounds good. And then
Okay,
just,
that's,
I'm sorry,
I'm
Gina,
sorry,
just
Jen, go
when
ahead.
you talk to Jason, just, I would just be cautious about needing a quorum of you guys. I
Right.
know it's been tricky to get a quorum just for your regular meetings. And this would be kind of intense because it would be like 4 meetings within a couple of days in 1 week, in addition to your regular meetings. So I think it might be a lot to ask for getting a quorum. So perhaps there's a way, if Jason feels like it would be better to post it, perhaps there's a way to post it as an informational meeting that's not of a particular committee. I don't know how to do that exactly and what the language would be, but it could be like hosted by the town or the town manager or the consultant or just an informational meeting. But I'm just worried that if we need it to be a committee meeting, that we may run into an issue of not getting quorum.
In the past, the town council has had meetings where they were in quorum and it was posted, but it was called a workshop.
Yeah, that
And
could work
therefore
too.
they were working on issues. That's what we would be working. So probably forum/workshop. But again, you still have to have the posting issue dealt with,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
or we do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and if the timing, works when you meet with Jason, if either me or Austin can attend, I'm sure we'd be happy to patch in by Zoom. Just you could let us know if it's helpful.
Great, thank you. Who else do we have here? Maureen, your thoughts? On changing the dates
Can
and,
you hear me?
yes, we can.
I'm having problem, wait a minute. I'm having problems with my laptop. And I've lost sound from you folks. So I'm on my phone and the laptop at the same time. So I apologize for that. But
Okay, are you
no, I'm
the-
all set. I understand what they're being said. Thank you.
Okay, are you because there is a phone here, it ends with 6949.
What's that?
There's a phone that's turned into our meeting. The last 4 numbers are 6949.
Yes, that's me. Yep.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, let's see, how about Harry? Your thoughts on this?
After all these years, I have very good faith in Jen's way she runs the meeting. She always does it different.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
She
you,
does.
Harry. Appreciate that.
Harry, will you work with the Concom to actually get a couple, yourself and maybe 1 or 2 others to come?
Yeah, I can do that. We're meeting tomorrow night, so I can ask somebody.
Okay,
you.
and also possibly, the Taunton River watershed might be interested. Would that be Kitty? I know Kitty's the NRTB, Natural Resources Trust.
Maureen, you're
Would you be the-
echoing.
Yep, I think that's Harry's. Nope, it's not Harry. It might be Maureen that's echoing. Okay. Okay, Austin, we're back to you. Maureen, can you mute yourself? Or maybe it was a phone. Okay. Austin and Jen, back to you.
Okay, good. So we can work, Gina, with you offline to pick those
Mhm.
dates, but I'm just looking in my calendar and right after this call, I can just send you an email with some possibilities in my calendar so you can start to think about what dates would be good in September. And then I'll do the same thing for a forum in October so that we can shift both of those. I think the next thing, Austin, did you want to go over the survey first or the profiles? I'm going to just hand it over to you to share your screen, perhaps, if someone can let Austin be co-host so that we can get your comments on the survey and the profiles.
Okay, Carlton, I think you have to do that because Josh
I'm
made
trying
you
to
the
see if
co-host.
as a co-host, I'm trying to figure out how to
Oh,
do
wait
it.
a minute, I can do that too.
It's been a while since I've done it.
Yeah, if you hover over Austin's frame, there's the 3 dots. If you click on that, you should have a section that says co-host. You can make Austin a co-host.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay,
okay.
perfect. All right, Austin, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Right, I'm gonna tackle the survey first, if that sounds good with everyone.
Mhm.
So, can you all see my screen here?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
So this, the way we do surveys typically is through SurveyMonkey. It's probably a platform that you all are familiar with from doing surveys in other places. It's a very common kind of standard platform. It's very approachable and easy to use. So this survey might look familiar from other work that we've done with the committee in the past. So we generally start the survey with a little information about the CPA and the recent work that the committee has done with funding projects. This is because a lot of people maybe don't have a super close connection with CPA work in general. So part of it is about education, kind of at every stage of the engagement process here. So we have a little bit of information here about recent projects, and then it dives right in to some instructions, and then demographic information, because we really want to collect info on not only what people's kind of priorities are for each area of CPA funding, but also collect information about people that are participating in the survey, whether they live in Bridgewater, if they live full-time, if they own property in Bridgewater but don't live there. We just want to be able to see what kind of different relationships people have with the town and what impact that might have on what their funding priorities are. So after asking about people's association with the town, we give a little more description about community preservation planning, just as a planning process. How CPA funds are spent, another description of the categories, and then we get right into ranking of CPA priorities, because people have different interests and we want to be able to know what people's interests are, what kind of priorities from the community are coming forward, so that you can use that to kind of gauge your priorities as a committee and how you allocate funding to reflect what the community is really interested in. So we'll have people rank what their top priorities are for funding categories, or the option to weight project categories equally if they want to do so. Stop me at any time if you all have any questions. And I did this document should be in your packet as well. So if you have any comments that you want to provide in a written form within the next week or so after this meeting, I'll also accept those as well. That would be awesome. So we also have these kind of ranking questions. Based on these kind of statements, we want to look into what people are really finding as the most important or what really is not important about to them. So there's several questions like this, really about what kind of projects people are interested in pursuing or what kind of projects they want to see the CPC pursue within the next 5 years. So there's that ranking question with an open response answer at the bottom if other people have different ideas for evaluation criteria for these projects.
Austin, very quickly, is this survey for the focus groups or everybody?
This is for the general public. So this will be an online survey, and we can of course print it out and have this printed option posted at the senior center or any other kind of community places that you want if people want a paper option. But this will be an online survey that we can share out to the general population. Everyone would be invited to take it. It's not restricted at all.
And
we
the
are
quick question, the timing of that one, it would be sooner rather than later?
That one, yes, this one we're kind of targeting to open as soon as possible. But since we're pushing back some of the dates of the other engagement activities, it could flex with that as well, depending on what timeline the committee is comfortable giving feedback on this draft. We had originally targeted it to open this coming Monday and be open for about a month or so. That was a tentative timeline and could change, but we could also move forward with it if you want.
Thank you.
And for sharing the survey, we're also going to be putting together some outreach materials. I have that kind of on the docket for the next few days. To put together a little postcard that has a link to the survey so that you can hand out postcards if you want, so that people can really easily access it. That's an easy way to put those in kind of key locations around town. We'll also put together a flyer that can kind of have a link both to the community preservation website, but also to the survey here. So those engagement materials will be incoming, and I'll send those over through Gina in the coming days. After those questions, we get into the category specific questions. So these ones are based on the goals from the last plan. And so each one of these questions is based on those priorities, and the options really are to select the top priorities that people want to see moving forward from the last plan into the new plan. So it's a way of helping the committee prioritize what community priorities really are still existing and weighing those ones that might be less salient now than they were a few years ago. So those are for each category. And it also comes in each category with this eligibility chart, so people can have a better idea of what kind of project will be eligible for funding in each category. And then there's another open response one here, so that if people don't find these goals really reflecting what they're feeling right now, they can also put in an open response for any new suggestions they have. So this goes for each category. For community housing, for historic preservation, active recreation, and for open space. In the same format with the eligibility chart, the previous goals to rank, and then also an open response. And then there's a few more demographic questions at the end. We try to keep the survey short and sweet because survey fatigue is a huge thing. People really don't want to fill out huge long surveys. It gets much fewer responses and much less complete responses. So keeping it as kind of short and neat as possible is a way to make sure that the information you collect is really useful to you. So then we get into these demographic questions, which should be pretty easy and simple to go right through. And they're targeted so that we can compare them to census data and be able to track what the representation of Bridgewater's population is in the respondents to the survey. So we can know that if there's any communities that are missing from this response list, or if there's any communities that are overrepresented, we'll be able to tell that as well. This is also another way to get some better data about what kind of interests different groups of people have. So if you want to break it down in the results to know what the priorities of seniors in Bridgewater is, what the priorities of people under 35 are, that'll be an analysis that we're able to do as well based on this data that we're collecting. And then right at the end, we have a link inviting people to share it with everyone else. Because that's one of the best ways to get people to keep sharing it along. So that's basically the survey. If anyone has any comments right now, I'm happy to write them down, or you can provide written comments either directly to me or through Gina, whatever is preferred.
I think it looks like a good survey, Austin. I've asked Austin, and he kind of addressed this. I know people think social media is the be all end all. I know more than probably at least a handful of people. An example, the survey for the Plymouth Street mobile station property, they had no idea there's a survey out there. I saw it on Facebook all the time. I know a lot of people that aren't on Facebook, and even if you are, it doesn't always pop up things. I was told it's on the town website, which is great, but unless you have a reason to look at the town website, you're not going to see it. I think the last time what we did, we had copies of it. We left some in the academy building. We left some at the senior center, the library. For people just to pick it up and fill it in, and, you know, they can return it to me or Josh, or they can send it to Austin. I just think there's ways that it has to be out there without being social media or the town website. Someone at our last meeting had commented, I know it was mentioned, could be the little cards with a QR code, which is a great idea. For some people, the person that spoke last month wasn't crazy, didn't do QR code. So I think we just have to have a number of different ways to get the survey out there. The more people we reach, the better plan we'll have.
I agree. That's a great point. It's really important not to just target people through one means of outreach, because then you'll only reach people that are there. And I'm not on social media, so I would be a terrible person to reach out to through social media. So I can really empathize with that. And that's actually probably a good transition to talk about the POP, the public engagement plan, if we want to pivot.
Let's do that in a second. I will also add, I think having hard copy or something that we can hand out to the remaining summer activities that are happening at the rec department runs, that kind of thing. Having things for people to take home and look at and do whatever would be really helpful. NRTB also has a connection of people, so that's another place we should. That's the outreach part, but we're going to talk about next.
Great. Any other comments from CPC people on the surveys? A survey. Okay, Austin, you're up again.
So that was another good point about how to target outreach, because you can both think of the places that are in town that people gather, that people pass through, that you'd want to be able to make them take a survey to have physical copies available, but you can also think of places that are super relevant to the CPA funding categories. So like at we could do like laminated posters that are at recreation sites. We could leave physical copies of the survey that are at like rec facilities as well. So like all those kind of options, places that are key CPA funding categories, is another good way to target that kind of outreach to the people that are perhaps already even more familiar with it, as well as get it to new people. So
I'm thinking a couple places that people get coffee in the morning. There's a little new place in town. Well, it's several months old, but it's called the Boundless Bean. I think they
That's
have
what I
all
was
people come
thinking,
through. There's also I think it's still the Juice Mill. Maybe maybe we should think about putting this at where there on Bedford Street. There's a gym, a workout place. We could do that. There's a couple of restaurants there. So I'm thinking that we ought to be really trying to hit all of these places, because that's where people are gathering in town.
Agreed.
absolutely. And so part of
If there are other committee members, I don't want to dominate necessarily. I'm just thinking out loud. Jump right in and talk about places, or submit to Gina and Austin and Jennifer, submit a list of places that people gather, so we can get this done in a very thorough manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that is actually a great transition to the POP, because that's part of the point of why we do this kind of engagement plan. So I hope you all had a chance to take a peek through it. It's kind of an outline of both the engagement opportunities that this process will provide the Bridgewater community to chat about the plan, but also is really a plan for our team and for your committee to know how to target the outreach. What ideas you came up with, what ideas we came up with, key locations, and key communities to reach out to as well. So in this POP, Public Engagement and Outreach Plan, which is both like a process document, a planning document, but also a public document. It's also kind of a process of iteration, and it's also just a living document. So at any time that we, as a group, that you as a committee want to update this document, right now in the meeting, after I receive any other comments of places to target an outreach or other groups within Bridgewater to target an outreach, we can certainly update this document as well, to make sure that it's the most current version and the most like useful planning document for guiding the outreach and the plan. So as a public document and also as something to guide this process for the committee members, there's a little description about what the point of this document is. That it's basically to guide the process and to be a consolidated place for all of our ideas about how outreach is going to go through this plan. There are project timelines, both an overall project timeline of how this process will work, through both the collecting of information from the community, sharing information at the open house, and collecting more visioning goals, to drafting and finalizing the plan update later this year. There's also an outreach timeline that targets both some specific dates for when the survey, focus groups, and other community events will happen. These are subject to change, so that's another reminder. This is an iterative document, but this will be updated once we have that current information. And then it goes right into the engagement opportunities. So here are some descriptions of how the focus groups will work, who the participants will be, and how people in the Bridgewater community can really participate in the process. So these will be kind of just descriptions of each of the opportunities, as described in the timeline, when they'll be, who will be there, and how the results will be used to really inform planning document. So it gives a brief description of the focus groups, the community survey, community forum, and there's also a mention here of CPC meetings. As public meetings, people are always welcome to come with public comment at times that it's noticed. So that's another engagement opportunity for people to provide their voice in this plan. It doesn't have to be just through these engagement tools. There's also all of the traditional ways to make a public comment. And then we get into the outreach strategy. So there's a little description of the strategy, kind of basic strategy for doing outreach, and also the roles and responsibilities. So it describes that our team will create marketing content for each of these. That's the kind of posters, flyers, postcards, any other things that the committee really wants to get out the word about these. And then, so list of outreach ideas. So these are things that our team has kind of brainstormed as ways to get out the word about each of these events, and they can be targeted in different ways for each of the outreach opportunities. But you'll see social media is just one of the options among many options. You can reach directly out to people. You can leave paper copies of the survey in key locations. And of course, you can go to public meetings of other boards, committees, and commissions and make announcements about all of these outreach activities happening as well. So I'd encourage you all to take a look through this. And if you have any other options that you really want to see prioritized in this, that you want to make sure that the rest of the committee knows about, and make sure that the community knows about, that you're thinking about, those are things that we can add in here as well. The network mapping assessment. This is the survey that was sent out a little while ago, a few weeks ago, that had questions about your primary networks, secondary networks, tertiary networks, and gap communities that you might not be in contact with, but you know exist within Bridgewater. So these are the compiled lists based on those responses that we got to that survey of groups that people in the committee are connected to. So these are groups basically that you would be able to reach out to very easily to share information about the survey, about the open house, and share information about the results of focus groups and the process as it's going on. Secondary networks are groups that you kind of know people in, but that you don't belong to. So those are ones that you know exist. Those are places that you have kind of a second degree of connection to, They're the place, the schools that your children attend, the place of work of your partner or your friends or family. Those things that you have a second degree of connection to, that you could also reach out to and make 2 degrees of connection in that outreach. Tertiary networks is along a similar vein. So those are places that you're kind of that you frequent, but that you're not connected to. So a lot of these are locations. The Boundless Bean does make a mention here. So that one is reflected in this engagement plan, as well as some other locations within town. Gap communities are communities that are outside of your network. So these exist within your municipality, but you're not connected to them. You don't frequent them. And often they tend to be historically underserved or excluded communities that the project team wants to make a special effort to connect with and make sure their voice is heard through the process. So these are your suggestions for those gap communities that might not be necessarily involved in CPA planning, but that you want to target for this outreach. And of course, if you see any things in here that that you want to revise or any other ideas that you have for communities to target, definitely let us know and we'll incorporate it. And that is basically the PIOP. So this is a document that both the CPC and our team can refer back to throughout the process to make sure that when we're doing outreach and we're brainstorming where to go, maybe we've hit a dead end or a roadblock, we can refresh ourselves with where we brainstormed we want to go to, or where the locations we want to hit for outreach, the groups, the communities, and stuff like that. Does that all make sense? That sounds like a fair way to do it.
Okay, we have, Austin, a couple of comments into about that, just a couple places, suggestions. The Black Hat Brew Works in town, they have the summer music events. Crispy's, just as a place, the owner would probably talk it up to get people to participate. The other comment was to keep language in the survey clear. Residents may not be familiar with some of the terms. I noticed a few as the survey was on the screen. That was the comment that the person noticed a few. John, if you can just let us know what terms you noticed that may not be familiar. If you can just let us know, and Austin might be able to address it.
Sure, it was scrolling kind of quickly, but I caught a couple of words. I can't recall what they were now, but I'm not sure everybody would know what that was.
Okay.
If you have a copy and you want to send it to me, I can take a look at it tomorrow.
Sure, I'll send you off a copy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for providing those comments. It's sometimes hard to know when you're deep in what words are too deep in planning.
You're welcome. No, and it's sometimes you get so close to the survey you're trying to generate, you don't always remember. I do the same thing, that what the audience is interpreting that to be, or not and skipping a question. But I'll be happy to take a look.
Great, thank you. I'll send it off to you.
Austin, this is Carlton. Since we're shifting this a little bit of the focus and everything a little later, I'm thinking that the schools will be back in session late August, early September. And I'm thinking that it might be worthwhile to reach out to the regional school district, the Bridgewater schools, Bridgewater Raynham High School, and actually see if we can get some kind of flyer distributed through the students to parents. That might be a very useful place, especially in the recreational side, but all sides.
Okay, Carlton, just a thought too. The election is September 3rd. Would it be possible? I know you don't have any in with the town clerk these days. I'm thinking maybe just have a table there or some type of something to get the information out as people come in to vote. Just a thought is a possibility.
Yeah, I personally, I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's an excellent idea to get at least having a table you can work with the town clerk and election officials to figure out how to do that. But I'm more than happy to person a table
Okay, good.
with the survey, handouts, whatever we need.
Okay, great. Thank you.
A great
Okay,
idea.
Austin,
Yeah.
I think Austin, we're back to you.
All right.
I really would like to hear other committee members. You know, Gene and I do a lot of talking, but I really think it's time for and important for committee members to actually step up and say something on what this is. If you can do it in writing, great, but we really need to, this is not an easy thing to do. And we're really going to need to push on it. Thank you.
Right, committee members, jump in, thoughts on.
Well,
I
I'm pretty
know a
familiar.
lot- Oh, go ahead, Jeff, I'm sorry.
I'm pretty familiar with the Little League and the Badger football and the Music Loft, so I can recruit them probably.
Okay. Good,
Just haven't figured out how I would do it yet. Probably with a link or QR code.
and as Austin said, they can give little business cards that would have the QR code on it. And I think the parents of the youngsters playing might be more up to using QR codes. And I think Stefano's on here that from the badges, he might be able to help out too in getting the word out.
You could put
Steph-
something in, try Maha Yoga Studio,
Okay,
really cooperative, it seems. And, I'd be willing to help you, Carlton, if we can put a, table, during elections.
okay, I will check with the town clerk. For it.
I'm thinking of those, any place that people go to gather. So we've got the rest of the summer, we've got the students, we've got athletic, physical fitness areas. There's a lot of places in town that we could do a lot of these card drops. QR code, I'm not very successful with QR codes, but anything that will get more people engaged will be really important.
Great.
Gina?
Harry,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I saved the best for last. When you're running for public office in this town, where do you go to get all your votes?
the
You
dump.
go to the transfer
Oh, I'm
station.
sorry, the transfer station.
Yeah, you go to the transfer station. So if anybody wants to go down there, I'm too busy working because we're building it up. But you stand over in the recycling area and you talk to everybody that's going in. And if you have a flyer to give to them, you'll have all the people you need. That's where everybody goes, even state candidates come down to our transfer station to get their votes.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Harry. I hadn't thought of that. That's good. Well, I add that in. I'd be willing to go stand there sometime for it. And another comment in the chat is the Facebook parents pages for the different schools are very active. So we could maybe, I don't know if they're private pages, but we could probably find somebody on them or the admins that could post something for us too. That's a good idea.
I'm on the GMSPA, but my son's going to what's the other one called?
Sorry, Greg.
The Williams next year, so I'm not sure if that's going to be active for me.
Okay. Right, that's good. If once we get set with what's going up, if you could put on the one that you're a member of now. Okay, that's great. Great suggestions, everybody. Okay, any other comments before Austin continues? Okay, Austin, we're back to you.
All right. So I believe the last thing that I have to go through is the profiles, which were also sent over in your packet. They're somewhat data heavy, but they're also pretty neat and tight for each of the funding categories. These are an update of the data that we provided for the last community preservation plan, so that kind of comparison can be shown over time. So some of the key highlights are shown in at least different categories for each funding category. So these data points are things based on the US Census from 2020, the American Community Survey of the Census Bureau from 2022, which is the most recent data that's available, and other data sources for housing data from Mass Association of Realtors, Mass Department of Transportation for population projections. So there's a range of data sources that we brought into this profile for housing, community housing, and all the other categories. So I guess at the risk of going through all of the data, I'll say that there are some key takeaways, being that the population of Bridgewater, according to MassDOT, is kind of projected to stagnate over the coming decades. This is kind of a contrast to the growth that was seen both through the latter half of the 20th century and even into the last 2 decades. And that data is based on a number of kind of indicators that MassDOT has assembled with UMass Donahue Institute for projecting populations by age grouping and in 5-year increments. So that's kind of a change in the projection from this last community preservation plan that we had done for you all a few years ago. So that's something to note, that based on those indicators, there is some changes in the projected population. The population of Bridgewater is aging. This is something that we see in a lot of different communities in the region and is not unique to the town. So the number of residents 65 and older grew 74% as a percentage of the population, or the total number grew 74% between 2010 and 2022, while the number of children under 18 fell nearly 5%. So given growth in population as well, there's a larger drop in children under 18 as a percentage of the population. The population is also diversifying, so that's another interesting thing to note. This is not because of a significant decrease in the population of non-Hispanic white residents, but mostly because of the growth of adding new neighbors that are not neighbors that are non-Hispanic white. More significant growth is in residents that identify as 2 or more races, residents that identify as some other race. So there is some significant growth in diversity in Bridgewater that is changing the demographics a bit. Housing supply is still majority single-family structures, and most are owner-occupied with low vacancy rates. This is very typical of a lot of places in the core of Boston that are not kind of deep within the inner core. Based on the kind of regional and even hemispheric housing crisis, this is one of those things that's keeping the vacancy rates low and contributing to that increase in housing prices. So I'm also looking for some permitting history from the town, and I'll put that in here once I get it. In the last plan, we had included data about how many units were permitted, how many were in the pipeline to be built within the next few years, and other information like that. So once we get that data from the town departments, we'll be able to put that in here to give you all a better idea of what kind of housing production the town is looking at. So according to the latest subsidized housing inventory, Bridgewater remains above the 10% goal for the subsidized housing inventory that is through 40B. And the vast majority of homes listed on the SHI are permanently affordable. So this is a really awesome thing. We usually communicate to CPA communities, to housing trusts, that one of the kind of priorities of units on the SHI is preserving that affordability, so that not only the SHI number doesn't dip below 10%, but also that those units really stay affordable and stay useful to the communities that need them. So there are some similar cost burden data from the last plan. 24% of households in Bridgewater were cost burdened in the year 2020. This is the most recent data that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has put out. So cost burden basically means that the households spend over a third of their income on housing costs. And it's especially true for renting households. 42% of renting households in Bridgewater spend over 30% of their income on housing. And it's also especially true for low-income households, extremely low-income households, which over half of them spend more than half their income on housing costs. So there's some significant need for affordable housing among Bridgewater's most low-income residents. And then I also have a summary down here of some recent efforts through the CPA funding for contributing to community housing. Also have a map here of all of the properties that are on the subsidized housing inventory in the town. And another 60 units were not located on this map because they were listed as confidential on the SHI or in some program that has the units scattered throughout the town. So they were not able to be mapped to that data. That's what we have for the housing profile. Is there any things that jump out in terms of that data?
I was just surprised to read some of it. It was very enlightening, things about the housing, the subsidized housing that I wasn't aware of. I was amazed to read some of them.
Thank you for doing that. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it and look at the data, but based on observations during elections, et cetera, certainly diversity of the town has changed. I'm pleased to see that we have data on what was the term you used? The cost burden in town. I think everybody's aware of it. It's not just a local, it's a state, national issue. So I'm glad we've got some data that is coming in. I'm hoping that town departments will be able to get that information to you sooner rather than later.
And Austin, if you're not getting a response from the town departments, let me know. And I'll try to help out getting it.
Appreciate that. And edits to this data is less a priority than the outreach materials in particular, because this is something that will be in the final plan, but to a great extent, the data are the data. And we can look into more things, and we can revise these maps, and we can double check all of the numbers and everything for you, to make sure that all of your comments are resolved and make sure everything that you want in here is reflected in here. But comments on this are less of an urgent priority than I think getting some focus group invitees and things like that. So we'll definitely would love any of your comments in writing. I know it's a lot of data, so going through it is kind of a challenge to do in a meeting like this. But if you go and read through it on your own time, when you've got some time to do it, definitely reach out with any comments that you have on it.
I think it's going to be important to look at the data that you've generated, which is statistics, versus what the surveys say. I think that's going to be really telling as to where the mindset is for the town.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that is the housing profile. Historic preservation profile, to a great extent, history remains the same. Of course, any updates to the state register are reflected in here compared to the last community preservation plan that we have prepared for you all. So this gives an overview both for you all in the committee, but also for the public who will be reviewing this planning document as it becomes a public document, and information that we'll also share with focus group invitees, share with the general public through the open house and the forum, as well as reflect in that plan itself. So these are to a great extent in the same kind of formatting and categories as the previous plan. So there's information about key resources in the town from each time period, information about the local historic district, and nationally designated resources that are in the town. Information about artifacts and documents, which is kind of a highlight of the work that the Community Preservation Committee has done to preserve those resources as well. And the mapping that we've done for this profile is a map of all of the historic resources that are listed on with Mass Historic, as well as the commission inventory areas.
Do you have, is there a way to get we've done a lot of document preservation, that kind of stuff. We're considering some things even tonight. We got to get to that. But is there a way to quantify a little bit more on the documents that have been preserved? So we have a better feeling for historic buildings versus documents and artifacts, that kind of thing? Because I know there's a lot of artifacts that Historic Commission has access to, but they're not stored in a very convenient place right now.
Can you say more about that? Can you say more about the storage?
I just know that we had stored a bunch of stuff at a local self-service place, and that place is going to be replaced. And I'm not sure where we've gone, but we've got at least one building in town that's basement needs some serious rehabilitation, restoration work, fix up. And in my mind, this is just an idea, we could potentially begin to use the basement of that for a lot of things, but one thing would be storage of artifacts if we can get the humidity and the wet basement taken care of. So, but that's more details than we probably need to deal with tonight.
Well, I can definitely do some more research and see what I can find out about the status of that and include that information as I find it.
I think the documentation, given the history of Bridgewater, I will say one thing. There was Bridgewater likes to talk about the beginning treaty. There was actually a treaty or land agreement that was done several years before the Matakeesit, the Pokanoat and Massasoit signed something. That was signed by the Matakeesit tribe. The Matakeesit tribe is actually, the tribe's name is Massachusetts. That's where it stems from. And there is in the Registry of Deeds at Plymouth County a document that talks about the transfer of use of the land. Let me use that rather than ownership, but that predates it. And there's some, and the Matakeesit tribe actually extended their area all the way down to the Taunton River area. And it's one of the parks in town. And that used to be a burial ground for the Matakeesit. And that was historically done architecturally. So I'm thinking that there's a little bit more history of the Native Americans, the indigenous population, than is commonly put out for Bridgewater. And I can put you in touch with the SACM of the Matakeesit if that's of interest and within your scope.
That would definitely be good information to have in here for reference moving forward. I'll definitely reach out to you to see what information I can get.
There's actually, not to belabor it, but there's actually a book and several presentations, and I'll have to do some digging to find them. But there was a historian that did a lot of work on the Matakeesit and the tribal boundaries back early, and who is where, that kind of thing. So there's some very important historic documents that are out there, and I'll have to figure out how to get it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other comments from CPC, folks? Okay, Austin,
Okay.
back to you.
So the open space data has two big highlighted areas that you'll notice. I just got back the chapter 61, 61A, and 61B data from the town, so I'll work on incorporating that. I didn't have enough time to do it today. This is a substantial data set. So once I incorporate that data, I'll be able to provide a map of open spaces by the primary purpose of the open space. So that will delineate between conservation land, historic preservation land, or other kind of preserved open spaces that I can map from that data.
And you're aware that the state just, I think the state or somebody just, and maybe Harry knows more about it, but there was some more conservation land out at the NIP area, the wetlands in that area. There was some major purchase of property out there recently. At least I've been told.
Heard about that in particular, and I am not sure if the data set from MassGIS is updated on a weekly basis, but I can do some research on that and see if that parcel was procured and if that's reflected in the data.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So this profile is a little lighter right now because of that lack of protected land data. So it'll be more filled out and complete with that map once that data once I incorporate that data. But I did incorporate some info here about water resources and habitat because there is actually significant natural resources in Bridgewater and significant habitat around the Town River and the Taunton River, which are both designated as wild and scenic rivers by the United States. And there are also a significant number of vernal pools and potential vernal pools. And since the last plan, 2 more vernal pools have been kind of certified. These are significant, really important areas for wildlife and for habitat for like a number of species. I think vernal pools are very cool. They're one of my things. So I thought that was very interesting. The recreation profile. Oh, and yes, I did map those vernal pools and core habitat areas. So the recreation profile I have broken down into passive recreation and active recreation. This is a little bit different about how we'll do it in the focus groups, but it is kind of more effective to reflect it here in the data to break it out like that.
Austin,
Yeah.
just a quick, I didn't pick this up when I read it the other day. Styles is STILES.
Ah. Good catch. Guys, I didn't catch that. Thank you. So this gives an overview of passive recreation opportunities that exist in Bridgewater, as well as active recreation opportunities that exist in the town. And this is a matrix that we created for the last plan that I've updated for this one, with all of the different kinds of active recreation opportunities that are available at each town facility. And you'll note the addition of pickleball at the senior center, which I hear is becoming very, very popular and even contentious.
Mhm.
Their source of information for what kind of opportunities are available at different locations that are throughout the town.
I just saw you had Rainbow's Inn listed as a playground. That has been basically abandoned and cleaned up. There was arsenic and other chrome, that kind of thing that was in the land. And basically that is no longer a usable facility. At least it doesn't have any of the apparatus now. is my understanding.
Right.
How about the Jenny Leonard Park? I don't, is there anything over there anymore?
There isn't, the developers of the housing development behind that have, as part of their agreement with, they're okay with the planning board, was they cleared all the old equipment out, which was terrible. I mean, not terrible, they cleared it out. It was great, they cleared it out, but the equipment was so beat up. They cleared all that. Parks and Rec is looking at putting some type of a playground in there. We don't have like formal plans yet. We've just talked about what to put there. So there will be something, some type of playground, a recreational area. We're just not sure what, but right now it's just an empty lot.
There has also been installed at the former Stanley Ironworks property, that park. The dam was removed and a new bridge put in, but they installed a canoe launch near the new bridge. Unfortunately, it's a very rocky area, and with the water so low right now, I saw it's probably impossible to get a canoe into that location. But anyway, there is a new canoe launch on the river at the High Street bridge area.
Carlton, as a aside to that, do they plan on putting any type of railing there? To me, that's the most dangerous, especially somebody after I hurt my knee, not the most confident person on steep stairs. But to me, it looks like an accident waiting to happen.
I've made that point to a couple of people, and I think somebody's got and it's not the town that carries the liability on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That was just, I happened to think of that as you talked about that. Okay, the senior center, there's no, as of right now, there's no active recreation. I know that senior center director has put in for a grant for trails. There used to be trails up in the back that were cleared by an Eagle Scout many eons ago. It's all grown over. The last time I walked up there, you couldn't even see the trails. She's looking to put more trails in there and also have the trail go around the perimeter of their property in the pickleball courts. So right now there's nothing active there other than they have exercise classes and like that. But in the future, it will be trails there.
And I see the Town River Landing, you have a boat launch. Actually, there's been a tremendous amount of work done in the last year on that property. They've cleaned, there's an organization that's cleaned it up. They're starting to hold a lot of music and other, farmers market type. I'm not sure about that one, but basically there's a lot of new activity in that Town River Landing that borders up against recreation, that kind of thing. So there's been some improvements there that might be worth noting.
Awesome, I'll write that down. Sounds like a good place to have survey outreach as well.
Now,
Especially
are you
given the summer.
looking, Austin, this list, is it just town-owned property? Or is it all recreational? Because the soccer fields technically are Flag Street soccer fields, technically the property is owned by the state, but it's leased to the town.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if
think,
that would make it a town property or still a state property.
at that point, it is I take your point, but I think it still counts as a facility that the town is offering, if the town
Okay.
is leasing it.
The other thing I would add in here are the old State Farm trails.
Mhm. Okay,
It's new trails that were just put in down by the prison. I don't think they've officially opened. Harry might be able to fill in for that. On that, but CPC and a number of private donations and other donations that the NRTB got put in the trails here. Harry?
They actually got an easement on the state owns the land, the prison land, a correctional facility land. The state allowed a use on that property, and the CPC paid, and this will be on the list. CPC paid significant amount of money, or recommended, and the town appropriated significant money to develop that trail. It's over a mile. It gets down to the Taunton River. So if you have a trail map that you're developing, it would be really important.
Thank you. Right. That brings us to the end of the profiles. So I really appreciate all of the verbal comments that you all have given me tonight. It's given me a lot to work with to make sure that these are really useful to you all and to the public moving forward. And of course, any written comments that you have, if you take a look through them in the coming week or two, definitely do send them over. I really appreciate that.
Great. Austin, I want to thank you for putting this together and presenting it. Thank Jen too for being here, and encourage CPC members to read everything over. Any suggestions, places for outreach as we talked about. If you come up with any others, let us know. You can write to Austin, you can write to me, and I'll pass it on to him. You can write to both of us, so we know. I encourage.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I did send Carlton and Gina an email with the dates that we could do in September and for the forum in October. So yeah, just let us know what you want to do.
Okay, good. And I lost train. Oh, I encourage people to send along. I'll get the list of committees from Josh. I'll ask him to send it on to Austin, and Carlton and I, just to recap, will reach out to Jason Rollins about how best to post and not post the focus groups. But I want to thank Jen and Austin. I want to thank CPC members for their input. It's extremely valuable for our input as well as the public input. So I thank everybody. We just have one more, actually a couple things, but they can hold
Gina,
off.
if it's okay, I think Austin and I are going to jump off then.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Yes,
good.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Right. Okay, the thing that, yep, we still have quorum. Good. In May, we spoke about the Edson, Samuel Edson book. I'm not sure if y'all remember. It seems like May was so long ago. It's a book that one of the Edsons wrote to Merrilee Hunt about, and she passed it on to Carlton and myself, and we brought it to the May meeting, not the book, the topic. He knew someone that was selling it. It goes back to, I didn't write the year here. I think it's the 1800s, 1700s, Carlton, 1800s. You're muted.
1800. Yeah, I think it's a really important book because it has information on some indigenous population. It has information on deaths and family members, etc. So right now, to go to the quick, we need to make a decision at this meeting
Right.
as to whether or not we want to pursue purchasing that book.
Right, we had, back in May, when we talked about it, we had voted to, we had Allison, or archivist from the public library at the meeting, and we had approved to spend for her to go up and look at the book, $2,000. The director of the library, Jed Phillips, had written back to Carlton and myself that Allison had updated him on the meeting, and his thought was for her to go up and look at it, the money could be better spent to have any NEDCC. My guess is, I can't remember what the acronym stands for. It's New England something, to go up to try to give us an idea, the cost to preserve it. Jed, the director of the library, also suggested getting the provenance I think, provenance for the book, showing the history of it, the original book, when it was bought, when it was sold, because the book is close to 300 years old. The person that made the book available, this well-known bookstore in Connecticut, the owner has died. The person we were dealing with, Mr. Thorber, is the one who has the book to sell. He said he can vouch as an accredited, I can look up what his terms were, that it is an original book. It has original markings in it. The only two things that he can see as far as damage to it, there is a page that's torn and the cover is detached. As a refresher, Samuel Edson was a coroner for Bridgewater back in those times, but he also had a lot of notes in there, as Carlton mentioned, of other things, just not deaths and coroner related information. We have two things here tonight. We have the previous motion that was approved to spend $2,000. I'm not sure if we have to rescind that motion. Because we're not sending Allison up to review it. Whichever way, I was hoping Josh was here to give a ruling on that, but we don't have to rescind it tonight if you do have to rescind it. But what we do need to decide is Mr. Thorber is, if that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. He's given us an August 1st a deadline to decide, because he has somebody else that might be interested. The cost of the book is $5,500. We had thought to have the NEDCC go up and review it for the cost. If we needed to restore the book in any way. I know we just voted to restore, to rebind the records book. To me, it would almost be a cost to rebinding if the only thing is just a cover that's off. I don't know. I'm not our book guru, admittedly. So I guess I'm looking for input from the committee if they think it's a valuable purchase for the town. So comments on that. I don't know if we decide to send the folks up from the NEDCC. As I said, I apologize. I'm not sure what it is. New England document something. But I'm not sure if we vote for that, if Mr. Thorber will give us a little extra time. I'm not sure what the cost should be to have any DCC review, look at the book, give us an estimate if we would like to purchase it and possibly restore it under different motion. Looking for discussion from the committee on it.
Was Samuel Edison, you said he was from Bridgewater, and
Yes,
we know the stuff in the book is about Bridgewater, or
Absolutely.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty vital we get it for our history. That's my opinion.
Yep. Harry?
I'd say get the book because it's the past history and it's documented. So I'd say, yeah, we go for it.
Okay, good. Maureen?
Good question. I guess, if it's got all that history about Bridgewater, that'd be a good idea. If money is an issue, we could always buy the book and bind it another time or rebind it another year. I'm not quite sure how much free money is available to take care of the whole cost of this. Do you have
Well,
any?
We have quite a bit of
You froze.
gonna jump back to the financial here. I'm talking and typing at the same time, and it does notes work. It would come out of historic preservation. And we do have, let me just open up Josh's thing here. And it could always come out of undesignated. Right now, in the historic preservation bucket, we have, and this is as of the end of May, and it may have changed as of July 1st. I'm not sure. If anything, it increased. We have $583,395.52.
Did you say 500,000?
$500,000?
Yep.
That seems high. But
Yep.
We've got more than enough money in the Historic Preservation Reserve account to cover certainly the purchase of the book and probably restoration. And the restoration, I'm not sure what the town we recommended and how much was voted for the restoration of that other book that's in process right now. But it seemed to me that it was not that much, a low amount of money.
Okay, thank you. I mean, go
Right.
for it. Yep.
Okay.
We,
I agree too. It's the town's history. And I know back in May, I'm almost positive we sent out to the committee, and Josh had shared the screen too, what some of the writing was. It was all handwritten. It was Mr. Edson. Edson was, and Colin can speak more on this, Edson was a big name in East Bridgewater too.
Yeah, the Edson family was really foundational to Bridgewater. They're an incredibly well-known name in the area, and an Edson individual that went to school with some of my kids is the one that has talked to us and sent it to us originally. But that said, everybody else has chimed in. I think we should purchase the book. I think we don't have time right now because he's putting pressure on us. I think we could vote tonight. I don't think we have to rescind the vote to send somebody up. That if we don't do it, we don't do it. We didn't spend the money. We voted it. It hasn't been really appropriated. Well, it may have been, and I don't know if
Right.
it carried
Well,
over.
it wasn't, we're taking it from admin funds, so it wasn't anything the council had to
But was
vote
it
upon
FY
it
twenty-three or
originally.
FY 24? Was it FY 23
We
or 20?
voted it in FY 23, 24. I'm sorry. We didn't carry it over as an encumbrance
Okay,
because we
so it's
decided. we
done.
weren't-
It's done. It's not carried over. So that's basically done. We don't need a motion, I think.
Okay, good.
But I think since we don't have an application, what we really need to do is say to the seller right now, we have a process that we have to go through. If in fact we're going to send it through the council, which I think we have to, because it's a procurement of a historic document. My suggestion is that we have some kind of motion that says we are very interested in purchasing the book and we need to go through a process in order to do that.
Okay, is that in the form of a motion?
I'd like somebody else to make it.
Okay,
I'll make that motion. I motion to send a letter to the seller, letting them know about our process of buying historical documents and that we're interested.
And that I would add, I'll second that and I'll make it a friendly motion, amendment, that we are extremely interested in acquiring the document, but we have, as you said, we have to go through the process.
okay. I know I can get the letter off tomorrow to Mr. Thorber and also send to the town manager's the one who puts the applications together, or would it be Jed to put the application?
I think it would be the Historic Commission.
Okay.
That would be, but that would be basically saying we want to acquire this. It's not my personal opinion if we vote this.
Okay,
And the other thing is CPC can actually do their own application. We can
that's
do
true.
we can do our own application, but I think having a committee member work with to help us get that done would be critical.
Mhm. Jeff, would you touch base with David Moore about
Yeah,
the application, and we'll be glad to help him out with the application for it?
yeah, I can get in touch with him after the meeting. I can send an email to him.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a motion to write to the seller that we're extremely interested. We do have a process we have to follow, and we'll let them know when the process is complete.
Well, I think we should say the process might take a couple of months
Okay,
because we have to get an application, accept it. Then we have to send it to the town council. They start meeting twice a month in September, and they have to go through a 30-day process. So it will take a bit of time if he's willing to wait. But
okay. Okay, we'll get that off. Right, because the council meets, I think they're meeting the 6th,
yeah,
but I
but
think that's
to
more
to
for
the
the,
motion, yeah, to the motion, you can write the details, but to the motion, we need to vote and take a vote that we are, as we stated, very much wanting to acquire the document, but we have to follow process.
okay. Okay, I listened to the recording after when I do this, but I like to just write my notes down.
Actually, something just occurred to me.
Mhm.
Would we be willing to go above asking price to keep him on the hook for the process to take place? If he really does have another buyer lined up.
I would,
What
I
do
would
people
say,
think?
go ahead, Carlton, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to ask what other people think. I that had crossed my mind too. But I don't want to get into a bidding war necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's leave it for like add to the motion, extremely interested in inquiring of the book for the price we were quoted.
Yeah. Yes,
That's a good amendment.
Hey, I come up with it once in a while. Not often, but. Okay. I'll just write it up and. the price quoted, and it was 50, yeah, I went back and checked it tonight, it was 5,500. Okay. Do you want to put that into the motion, the
No, just say for
5,500?
the price quoted, because I thought it was 58, but
Okay, I'll go
just-
back and look
just
at it.
for the price quoted.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call. Gina, yes. Carlton,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes,
and Maureen. Was that a yes, Maureen?
yes, it was.
Okay, I'm sorry. Not sorry, it was a yes. Sorry, I missed it. Okay, so we'll take care of that. Any new business? Okay, I can't think of any either. Committee liaison, does anybody reports, any of the committees have anything special to bring up tonight?
Not I. Our last meeting couldn't reach quorum.
Oh, we know that. We know that is true, yeah. Okay, Parks and Rec is basically, yeah, the only thing that might be coming before CPC is Jenny Leonard, when we decide something for that. Otherwise, it's just
there
standard
is one-
stuff.
Gina, there is one other thing that might be coming up. There is a conversation going on to
Yes,
use,
thank you.
potentially ask CPC to help fund is it lacrosse court?
Look, it was a lacrosse group that approached us, but they're not doing it as,
Well, it's
they're
lacrosse.
doing a multifunctional fields.
Right, it's multifunctional, but the point is, the lacrosse group is looking for a new field to do lacrosse. And they have identified the potential for a field to be put on where the old high school is. There's some open property back in there beyond the parking lot that's not used much right now. And so there is some interest in that, and there's a discussion going on between the school system, the lacrosse folks, and a couple of other people about the feasibility and whether it would be accepted. So they are talking with a representative of the regional school district from Bridgewater. So there is that potential coming down. There's discussion about funding an active recreation park lacrosse field at the old high school.
Just to add to that, because lacrosse didn't want it to be touted as just lacrosse, they'll be multifunctional. But it was brought forward by the lacrosse people. The note from the I don't know where it disappeared to. The note from the town manager's office commented that it was I'm sorry, I had it open here and it closed. Okay, she said that the town manager has reached out to the superintendent at BR, and there's been wonderful conversation with the Bridgewater youth groups, the school committee, namely Tim Fitzgibbons and the superintendent. They're all connected and going to meet to discuss details, timings, and logistics. So yes, thank you, Carlton, for mentioning that. I
Yeah.
had it
I have a
open and
question.
forgot it.
Can I
Sure.
ask a question about it? Does the
Sure.
high school have a lacrosse team?
I have no idea.
Because if they have a
don't-
lacrosse team, why aren't they just using their fields?
I
Good
don't
question.
think there are lacrosse fields, but I can follow up to see if there is, they do. have
And I think the
lacrosse.
reason they're looking at this is because there isn't a lacrosse field that's dedicated multi-use. I just, so everybody knows, the town owns the property that the old high school's on, and the district leases it. So those two entities have to play in this in terms of where they're going. So the point here is simply to let you guys know that there's a potential for an application to construct a lacrosse field in that property.
Okay,
Okay, did you say 2 questions, Maureen?
nope, just that one.
Okay, good. Okay, how about Harry, anything for Concom? You're meeting tomorrow, I think you said.
Yeah, we're meeting tomorrow on the Broad Street property.
The Broad Street Styles and Hart,
No, the other side.
next to Imperial Gardens.
Across the street,
Oh,
the
across
foundry
the-
part. The
Oh.
foundry.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
you,
There's so many things going on Broad Street. It's like, wait a minute, which one are we talking?
Harry, to be clear, Harry, you're talking about the Perkins property, right?
Yeah, they want to put a trail along the river.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
good luck.
It's good.
That's about what
Um,
I'm gonna tell them.
No comment.
Okay, who do we have left? Maureen? Anything for open space?
Not a whole lot, just the new trails over by Wyman, they're hoping for an open house sometime in September. But,
Okay.
it's a tentative date, so I won't say what the date is yet.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Gina, I'm only gonna say
Mhm.
one more thing. Please, please, please read those documents that Goldson's group and gave us tonight and make comments. We really need to support the work process.
Mhm. Good, thank you. Yes, definitely. Okay, we have no public left. Upcoming events, we did have focus groups, but that's changing. So we'll look at the dates that Jennifer said she sent out. And pass them by you folks too, to see how they sound.
Well, you got to be careful because you can't debate it in public without being in public meeting.
That's true.
So I think that probably what she asked for, I took a quick look at, she asked for 2 dates out of 4. And I think if people say that, I don't know how to handle it. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, okay. What we had was, when they had looked at the August dates, Austin also looked at, to make sure, like, for an example, they wanted to do the open space on the Monday, because the second date, I think Concom was meeting. So they looked at other committees when they're meeting, so they try to arrange it around that too.
Let me read the dates off so people have it, and maybe we can deal with it tonight. The dates for the focus groups, she said, pick 2 dates. 9/19, Monday, the 9th of September, virtual only. Thursday, 9/12, in person or virtual. Monday, 9/23, virtual only, or Wednesday, 9/25, in person or virtual.
The
So-
25th is our CPC meeting.
Okay, that's good to know, but basically it's 9, 12, 23, and then 25 potentially.
Okay,
That's for the focus. So I'm of a mindset to give them us enough time to put this together, because we're really, I think we're behind the 8 ball right now. So I'm
Mhm.
going to suggest that we select 9/12 and 9/23 as the dates of choice right now for the focus.
I agree.
And
Okay,
we don't have to all be there. We can deal with the how we do it. But I think just giving them 2 dates and so they have a target and we have a target would be important. So, and we can
okay,
do it by consensus.
okay. They seem fine for me. I just can't do Tuesdays and none of them are Tuesdays, so that's good. And as I said, Austin has looked at when our committee is like Parks and Rec, when they meets on a Monday, but it would be like the 9th, so that would be fine. He does look at the other committees. Like I said, he looked at when Concom was meeting and made sure that he put the open space not on that day. So he works it out that way. So is everybody fine with if we just write back and tell Jen and Austin the 12th and the 23rd?
I am.
Those
I
work
am.
for me.
Okay, good. Works
September
for me.
12th, September 12th, I'll be in Dayton all day because I have a meeting with the Taunton River Stewardship Council that evening, but I do 2 other meetings before that, so
Okay, so
I'll
we
be in
could also,
Dayton.
okay, we could put, make sure we put open space, and the Concom
On the
focus group
23rd.
on the 23rd.
Yep. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with that.
That'll work.
Okay, great. Okay, we
Yeah,
can get that
so-
back.
So that's done. And then the other one is October Public Forum. Choose one date, either Thursday, 10/17, in person or virtual. Number 2 is Thursday, 10/24, in person or virtual. And
That's my birthday.
Wednesday, 10/30, in person or virtual. October 17, October 24, October 30th. I think the 30th is close to Halloween. My suggestion is I do the November 24th. October 24th. October 24th.
Yeah, I won't be around.
And remember, this is the public forum, so
Right.
Okay, I have something on the 17th, but I can probably skip it.
I haven't looked that far forward in my life.
The 24th
Yep.
is my birthday. I'll just have to make sure I go out for lunch instead of for dinner.
And again, I'm not sure if those are evening or otherwise, but
I think in the past we've done that evening. Okay, so Maureen's not here the 24th.
24th should be conservation too.
Okay, so the 24th is out. Because we'd like to try to have for the public meeting, we'd like to have as many people, as many as our people.
and Wednesday the 30th is the day before Halloween, so I'm going to suggest we give it as much. It's up to you guys, but the 30th seems to be the most open. But we don't all have to be there.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We can
how
do
about-
COMCOM like in an hour. We start at 5:30, so I should be out of there real quick.
So you
Okay,
want to do the 24th?
Yeah, we'll do the 24th.
okay. Maureen, did you have a preference? I know you said you
I
can't do.
cannot, the only date I can do that for what those 3 dates would be the 30th.
Okay. Carlton, what are you saying?
Any of them works for me. I'll make
Okay.
it happen.
Okay, Jeff,
It should be fine, either one.
Eh.
That far out, I don't really have any plans that far out. So
No, not 30th.
Yep, okay, okay, so if I send out to, well, I guess it's still discussion. I was gonna say, if I send out to the 4 members that aren't here tonight,
You can't do that.
that's what I was gonna say, it still goes against it.
Let's just do the recommendation and we'll all, again, we don't all have to be there. It would be nice.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
Okay, I guess I have no problem with the 30th, but you think that the night before Halloween is a busy night?
I don't think it's a big deal. It's just a comment.
Yeah, I would like to see the 30th, but that's just my thought.
Let's make it so.
Okay, works for me.
Okay, Harry, can you do the 30th, and Jeff?
Works for me.
Okay,
yes,
okay, so we have the 30th.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. I can write back to Jennifer for those. And our next meeting date is October 24th, August
Oh.
24th. You got me on October 24th. It's
Not bad.
August 24th. One thing for the focus groups, we just have to decide if we want them in person or virtual.
Have you got the right date? You said August 24th?
Yeah, for our next meeting, did I put the wrong date?
That's a Saturday.
You know, you're right. Okay, how about the 28th?
It's
Does that
good.
sound- Okay, I was probably looking at the July calendar when I did it. I'm sorry. Good catch, Maureen. Okay, and as I was saying, we just have to, at some point, decide if we want the focus groups virtual or in person or hybrid.
We don't have to make that decision tonight.
Right, that's what I said. It's something we just have to think about which we
Right.
want.
We can put that on the agenda for next meeting and deal with it then.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, I'll ask, but I know there's gonna be no discussion on it. And roll call, Gina, yes. Carlton,
Yes.
Jeff,
yes.
Harry,
Yes.
and Maureen.
yes.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 8:48. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.